Geeks Assembled.
Hi, Geeks Assembled. It's Chase Masterson from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Live long and prosper. And thanks for supporting the Pop Culture Hero Coalition. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at our website, popcultureherocoalition.org. We're standing against bullying, and we'd appreciate your support.
Hello, well, welcome to Geeks Assembled, and today it's the 60s movie cast, and we will be talking about a film, an original film from 1968, which has created many sequels and many reboots in the modern age. We are talking about Planet of the Apes, starring Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowall, and Maurice Evans. The list is endless. So without further ado, we'll go on your opening thoughts about this movie. Let's go to Jason, because I know he was up late watching this, and I hope he got through to the end of the movie.
Oh, I got through to the end of the movie, and it was definitely very interesting. More interesting than the 2000s one, or I should say. But this one, definitely some interesting characters, and definitely gives you an interesting stall in the beginning with the guys in the ship, and you have like the freezing sleeping pod, which one of them didn't make it, and yeah, with them going down to thought they was going to a different planet, from like, I guess, 1,000, nearly 2,000 years later, but they thought it was like over like 8 months or something like that. But yeah, it was interesting with them walking around the whole forbidden lands, with them trying to find out where any food, any plants. Took them a while. They just found like a single like flower and stuff, and then they kept going. Then they found some more plants later. Then found a group of a tribe of people that cannot speak, and which definitely got them curious, because the fact that they're still in their clothes and they're like swimming around naked and all that. With them getting later caught by the apes, and the apes trying to find out more about them. Or what's her name? Dr. Zilla, I think, was finding out more about them. Then she got more interested with George Taylor, and then with him, he couldn't speak because with him being attacked, and then which the only way for him to make them to understand was him writing down stuff. Of course, he had to grab Dr. Zilla on that one, which he ended up being in a fight with a bunch of apes, which there's definitely some great scenes between that, which I definitely liked. I got more interested with the movie itself, which I definitely want to be interested with the next movie out there now. So yeah, it was definitely very interesting, and then how he was interacting with Nova, who cannot speak at all, which she was with him like near the end of the movie itself. Of course, with that, Dr. Zeus, I think his name is, who was such a prick. With the rest of them were definitely a prick, just not liking the humans himself, but I think it was Dr. Zeus who's the one that knew what was going on about the humans, but he wanted to hide it. And with George Taylor and the rest, later on discovering more about it, and then finding a doll that made noise, and George Taylor was definitely figuring it out, and I guess with him later on figuring the Statue of Liberty, yeah, he's not too happy about that.
Well, if anybody hasn't seen the movie out there, you have now, because that was that was from a beginning to end. Thank you, Jason, for that. Beef Dad, what's your opening thoughts on this 60s movie?
Well, I remember watching it when it first came out, and I loved it then. Nothing like this had been done before, and Charlton Heston, big name, and that's going to pull people in. But you also had Roddy McDowall as Cornelius, Kim Hunter's Dr. Zyra. I mean, Kim Hunter was known as basically a really beautiful all-American girl. And yet there she is, all of a sudden, she's a chimpanzee. And she did it, they did it brilliantly. Maurice Evans as Dr. Zayas. Yeah, he was basically what my little friend called him. But he wasn't the only one, because you also had Dr. Maximus, the President of the Assembly, Dr. Gay, and they're all as bad as each other. And they were all orangutans. And of course, your soldiers are the gorillas. So your workers are chimpanzees. They're the sort of people who do the day-to-day working are all chimpanzees. The ruling class are all yeah, all orangutans, and basically the soldiers are all gorillas. It was a very, very interesting setup, shall we say, of people on levels, and it was also pretty anti the whole business of what was going on in America at the time, which was this, and in South Africa, the apartheid business. And it was, a lot of it was around, worked around that. Yeah, Lou Wagner, who went on to become a big star, played the young chimpanzee Lucius, and he was just superb. But yeah, the story is excellent. It's an excellent science fiction story, brilliantly told, brilliantly acted by all the leads, and the supporting cast are just as brilliant. I loved every minute of it. To me, I couldn't find any real weak points in it, which is not something I could say for one of the later remakes. But yeah, it's excellent. It's brilliantly directed. The photography is superb, especially in the Forbidden Zone, when they're trying to get through the Forbidden Zone after the spacecraft crashes. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good to hear, Beefhead. If I remember rightly, it's based on a French novel. I can't remember the title. I can't remember what it was called, but the film was
Pierre Boulle.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
But the script was adapted by Michael Wilson and Rod Serling, who is well famous for creating the Twilight Zone series. So you can see how imaginative it, with that man doing the script editing, anything can happen. Anyway, I digress there. Oh, Alex, you want to say something there?
Yeah, he wanted to adapt it for the Twilight Zone, but CBS didn't like it. It was called Monkey Planet.
That was it, yeah.
I can't remember all the differences from the original book. But of course, in a way, I guess it's good that it did not work on the Twilight Zone. I think it probably would have been too fantastic, and they would have had to spend too much on the special effects and the makeup. But like I said, it came very close. It came very close to being on the Twilight Zone series.
Cool. You got any else to say about the thing, or do you want to pass it to Susan?
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, again, just like science fiction, it takes a dichotomy or a a parallel and compares it, because obviously I've watched it, many different times, many different times a day when they used to show it here with or without commercials. And I think the woman dies in the spaceship and then they crash. And they're talking about, their lives. And it's funny how Heston Taylor, I can't remember his first name, but Taylor was very sarcastic and I'm the king of the hill and all this stuff. And then, of course, he sort of falls in love with Nova. She doesn't talk through the whole movie, which is interesting. And then, of course, he ends up being subjugated by this monkey planet, by this class and caste system. And I also wanted to see again the hearing of Cornelius and what was her name? For goodness sake, I forgot the woman's name.
Dr. Zyra.
Zyra, you're right. And, how that was, followed. And then, of course, Dr. Zyra says, I accept that there's more of you, but I'm going to, get rid of you. You're going to the wastelands and all that. So, of course, it's a great movie. There's 4 other movies. The third one is very funny because then the monkeys, they sort of do a reverse. And Cornelius and his girlfriend, wife, they go to 1971 USA. And, of course, it is better than the remakes or the reboots. They had a television show on CBS, funny enough, and they also had a cartoon. I can't remember if that also was on CBS, and this was, 70, 73, 75, something like that. But, as I said, the movie is very good. I've watched it many, many times, and I'll give it a 9.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, it is a rich story. I love the special effects. I love the makeup. The monkey orangutan or the chimpanzee orangutan and gorilla makeup is so good. Oh my gosh. I met a couple who were doing the cosplay of that at San Francisco Comic-Con. I was just like mind blown. It was, it was one of those instances where you don't just take a picture of them, you get a selfie with them because, oh my gosh, they looked so good. And I mean, let me tell you, to see Charlton Heston, as a younger man, having just played Moses, you can see where he gets this cocky sort of thing going on. But he really was at the apex of his game for this. He had such a lot of charisma and a lot of power going into it, and so I enjoyed that a lot. And I rewatched the trial sequence a second time with Alex and was noticing the intricacies of law, and they really did a good job at bringing the law in and dealing with the justice versus law and those sorts of issues are sort of the meat of a good science fiction legal debate. Anyway, so that was fun. And yeah, so I agree with Jason, like the whole thing with like the fight scenes was really intense. And yeah, Beef Dad, the cast was outrageously good. So yeah, that's really all I've got right now. Shall I rate it?
We'll do the ratings at the end.
Okay.
Talking about the court scene, I mean, there is one scene there. It always gets me with the 3 orangutans sat there, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, where they just sat. I mean, it's a blink and you miss it sort of scene, but it's very funny. Kevin, was this your first time watching this movie?
Yeah, it was the first time I watched it.
So what did you think?
I liked it. I saw the reboots, of course, the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So yeah, it's very different from the reboot, of course, but yeah, I liked it. The talking monkeys and the makeup was very good for in the 60s. Makeup was very good. I saw the Planet of the Apes 2001 version once when I was a little kid, and yeah, they took inspiration from that, from the 60s. And yeah, the 60s version, I liked it. Tyler as Miss Bright Eyes, as he called by Dr. Zera. Yeah, and yeah, the apes are ruling the world, but Lisa doesn't know it yet until the end, of course. But yeah, the court scene was very good. I liked it, and Nora as the girl that doesn't talk. And the monkeys operate on the human's speech part of the brain, so they can talk. So yeah, and at the end, he discovered that he was on Earth all alone. But yeah, that's just even in the beginning, he looks at the what time it is, what year, and you see 3000, one or something. It was like, and then he was like, oh. And it was set Earth. Yeah, so he did kind of knew it until he saw the Statue of Liberty. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Oh, cool! I'm glad you liked it, because that's what I like doing with these casts, getting some of the movies and getting the youngsters to watch them and discovering these movies. As you mentioned, the makeup is brilliant in this. But you've got to feel sorry for the actors. Acting there and waiting around while filming in that Arizona sun. They must have gone through hell. Is that Beefhead back with us? What's your take on this movie, Beefhead?
To quote the great prophet of The Simpsons, Troy McClure, I hate every ape I see, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee. This is, for me, it's a personal favourite. You have to remember, this is at a time where sci-fi in the cinema post 1950s and everything like that wasn't really a bankable concept. And this is, you think Star Wars was your first sci-fi franchise. It wasn't. It was this. When this movie came out, everyone was encouraged to go ape. There was, like Alex said, there was, the TV show. There were 4 other movies. There were masks. There were costumes. There were comic books. Even Marvel made a Planet of the Apes comic book that ran in the early 70s. It's a tremendous movie. I love it. It's got a special place in my heart, not only for the fact that he's smoking in a spaceship at the start of it and decides to just chip it and tuck it away in his spacesuit, save it for later. But Alex does make a very valid point. When Charlton Heston starts off on this, he's a bit of a dick. When he lands on the planet, he's there saying, oh, why have you come away on this? All your family, all your loved ones, they're gone and dust. You wanted fame and fortune. They've probably built a copper statue now, which has turned green and the nameplate has faded. And by the end of it, you sort of feel for him. So he goes through a big sort of change, and he is sort of a guy who's lost his faith in humanity. And how man can make war against his brother, and he wants this. He's your typical isolationist. He'd be more than happy to go away and live in a hut in the forest somewhere and never be troubled by humanity again. And to a certain degree, he gets his wish. Like Lee said as well, you've got the fantastic courtroom scene. Visually, it is a stunning movie. The makeup for its time was revolutionary. You get this idea of it is completely otherworldly. The Apes village is based on the sort of Gaudi type architecture that, if you're familiar with sort of Barcelona and stuff like that, it's surreal. It's, like I say, very alien, and then you wonder what has happened, where it's got to. I love, your principal characters. Dr. Zaius is great because you have this sort of undertone that he is the head of science, but he's also the defender of the faith. So you have this strange dichotomy of science and religion, and it's sort of the two of them mashed together as a means of controlling the populace. Yeah. And it was the first time I think that I can remember watching a movie where the law, a movie had a law, because then it became the rules of the lawgiver, which you then got into further depths as the series of the movies progressed. And they did the actual social commentary and social undertones by the time you got to the sort of race aspect with, I think it was about the fourth movie, that is probably for me the best out of the series. And M. Night Shyamalan. You think the twist at the end of a movie is a new thing? No, this did it first, because by the time he hits that at the end of it, it's, as an audience, if you've never seen this before and you go into it blind, it's like, that is a hell of a shocker. It really is. And it's so many quotable lines. Get your sticky paws off me, you damn dirty ape. It's a madhouse. There are the most. If you looked at movie quotes in the sort of, these are the top 100, and this movie, I would say, takes a good 3 or 4 out of them. Like Lee said, in the summer when they filmed this, subsequent movies, they made the choice to film it in winter because it was so bad for the actors. They would have to drink all their meals liquidized through straws. But the biggest, as much as Chuck Heston is great in this, and there were so many different actors this could have been. I think even Sean Connery was one of the people up for the role of this. It really goes to Roddy McDowall, because he took method acting in that to a whole new level. He made all the tics. It was his idea to make the tics and all the character traits and everything like that to the character, which made the makeup, which although you could think is exaggerated, made it all the more believable that you were on a planet, on a planet that was inhabited by apes. I love the social structure that you get in it as well. That you get the warlike gorillas, you get the sort of the science chimpanzees, and then you get the sage old orangutans. It's such a brilliant parable between the world as it was then, which was at the time living in a sort of nuclear shadow. 68, you had the Cuban Missile Crisis only a few years before. It just takes all these fantastic zeitgeist type things and puts it together in something that only science fiction can do. No other genre type of movie can do that. And it's a fantastic work of cinema. None of the remakes have ever touched the sides on this. This is a gorgeous movie. If you never watched it, please do.
I'm guessing that Beefhead loves this movie. But I totally agree with the big reveal at the end, though. I mean, I'd love to have been sat in the cinemas in 1968 when that came on the screen, when they came around the corner on the beach and there was the Statue of Liberty. What would the audiences,
so many other movies owe this a debt, for the twist at the end. Even like it became the benchmark then for like the sort of dystopian ending. Films like Logan's Run that had like a weird ending to it, or things like Capricorn 1. You wouldn't have had all these great science fiction based movies if it wasn't for this.
True, that is so true. Brian's been waiting patiently to say his bit, so we will hand over to Brian.
Okay. Well, firstly, I just got to say, I absolutely love this film. I really do. I think it's mostly a classic, in my opinion. I kind of like the sequel a little bit better, the second one, a little bit better than this one, but that's my opinion. And so, but I do enjoy this one. Like I said, it's a classic and it's a good film. So, everybody was great in it. The whole cast, crew, everything. The actor that played Taylor, Cornelius, everyone is just absolutely superb in it. The the only thing that I saw a little, the only thing that, the only thing I would say that is a little, for me, when I saw this film, when I still see this film, in this first movie, that one, the thing that, mostly, actually two things really, the two things that I think is most terrifying within the film here is, the first one is when you actually first see the apes for the first time on the horses, rounding everybody up and capturing them. And to me, I found that a little bit terrifying because you get to see these apes very savagely, like, and they're pretty terrifying, at least to me. So I thought that was a bit of a terrifying scene, a little bit. So, and the second one wasn't really terrifying, but it was kind of creepy. It was the when Taylor finally actually found his friend, like where they have all the statue type dummies and everything, and he finally found him, and he was one of the dummies, and that actually was a little bit creepy, at least to me. So that for this film to like have, but I thought, wow, this film has pretty terrifying features within the film, and all, but at the same time, within some scenes, it's actually put it quite hilarious, and because whenever I see it, like not like an action-packed scene, but like a simmered down scene, like just like with the dialogue and everything, the makeup like for the apes, it's just quite hilarious to me because it is so cheesy. I mean, I know these are like I know this is the late '60s back then, but it's so. I thought it was just quite hilarious. Like these are just so cheesy for the special effects and the costumes back then. It was quite hilarious, and I still find it quite hilarious. But that's what so makes it great. I love this film. I absolutely love this film. And from what Beefhead here said, like at the end, it is a bit of a it is a bit of a shock and a twist at the end. Like he is not on a different planet. He's on the same planet on Earth, and it was taken over, and with and has a new city and culture with the apes. So they took everything over, and that is one hell of an ending and a way to end a classic film like that. So I absolutely enjoyed this film. I would just score the hell out of this film if I were to give a good rating, which I would, but I'm going to save that for last. So
good.
So everybody could give it their rating. So I'm going to send it over to you, Lee, so you could give your opinion.
But Brian, I'll tell you something now. I would rather have that makeup from the 1968 version than the CGI versions we get nowadays, to be honest. But for me, that looks far better in this, in the original version. I know it's a generation thing and you say it's cheesy, but to me, that makeup is so outstanding. And
I know. I mean, I even heard that I think it's Tim Burton that did the remake.
The first one, yeah.
I heard that one was horrible in itself, so I'm not going to even bother. And I think that the other ones is like prequels to the original franchise. So
yeah, well, for me, this is the original and the best. You get, for the first half hour to 40 minutes, it's just the three astronauts walking through the Forbidden Zone, finding the feet where they are and everything like that. And I do agree, Charlton Heston's character is quite cocky at the beginning, but he does come down to earth with a bump during the film. Yeah, it's an enjoyable film. It's action packed. There is a lot of dialogue, but the dialogue moves it along. It is one, as to say, with the reveal at the end. It is just a jaw dropper for me. When I remember when I was a little kid, when I first saw this, I'm like, what? But all the acting in this is brilliant. And as Beef had said about Roddy McDowall, you got to take your hat off to him with with the facial expressions and everything like that. And with all the actors in those costumes, you have to give them a nod. And it was a well-scripted film, well acted. I can't fault this. I enjoy it from beginning to end. It once you start watching it, you press play on the DVD or whatever, wherever you watch it. I can't take my eyes off it. I am glued to that screen until the credits start rolling. So, as you can tell, I like this film. So I will open the floor now for any thoughts on, your favourite moments or your dislikes, favourite characters. I will open the floor to anybody who wants to speak.
One of my favourites was Cornelius. Basically, because it was played by Roddy McDowall, who was born and grew up, let's see how far, about 20 minutes walk away from where I was born and grew up. And he used to come over to England every now and then to visit his mother. And you could see him in one of the pubs. He'd pop in the pub for a drink. And he was just basically an all-round nice guy. Only about 3 years previously to this, I think he was. I think he was 65. He played Matthew, one of the disciples, in The Greatest Story Ever Told, which is probably the best ever version of the story of Jesus Christ. But yeah, him and Kim Hunter, because the chemistry between the two of those, between the two of them, was just absolutely brilliant. Every scene that they do together is just pure magic, in spite of all the makeup and everything. You can see there's a connection, and the connection works. Even though they have all that makeup to do it through, they still manage to convey an awful lot, with a lot of the time with just their eyes. Especially Kim Hunter. Kim Hunter's eyes are absolute. The range of emotions she can express just with her eyes in this film is amazing. And when do you want to do the ratings? At the very end?
Yeah, we'll just do it at the end, the final thoughts.
And for the time, and if you add inflation, this had the biggest ever makeup budget of any movie ever made, because if you look at the percentage of the people who are in actual makeup in this, they urged them to stay in makeup in between shooting and everything like that, because it took so long to get them in and out of the makeup. If you notice in the subsequent movies, especially by the time you get to the third movie, because you've only got 3 apes in that movie, because it's a lot cheaper. And this movie languished in development hell for ages. It was because the original story, the original story that this is based on, it's the monkeys are a technological equivalent of the 50s, 60s America. Luckily, it was reworked and everything like that to make it a cheaper movie to produce, despite the makeup being so expensive. I think it ended up being like about between 17 and 20% of the final budget, because at that time sci-fi wasn't a bankable thing. But it is, like my dad says, it is. They just evoke a humanity. Certainly the chimpanzees of it just through all that layers of makeup, just literally through the eyes and everything like that, or even just like the cuteness of where they sort of meet, and there's that little kiss between the two of them, and they're holding hands. You know, even where they walk and they're sort of like hunched over. It's so elegantly done that it makes it entirely believable that they are human characters, or humanoid characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's Beef Dad mentioned earlier about the apartheid equivalent of what was going on with what this movie touched upon. The scene at the end where Heston's character kissed the chimpanzee. That was a play on mixed race relations, like Kirk and Uhura's kiss in Star Trek. It played on the race thing. And it did it pretty well, to be honest. It wasn't shoving it in your face. It was gently all the way through. It worked well on that score.
And one of the clever things, I must say, like you said, Lee, about the rewatch value of this, if you go back, if you watch this and then go back and rewatch it and just watch it for the Dr. Zaius aspects of it, you can see him subverting Taylor all the way along this, because this guy knows the truth. He knows more than Taylor does. And by the end of it, he's willing to, basically, he's made a deal, but he still throws Cornelius and Zira under the bus because he has to maintain the status quo, even though what they've said, what Taylor is saying is proven to be true. So it does. It's sort of like there's no real winner at the end of this. No,
yeah, you're right there. I mean, Dr. Zaius is my favourite character in this. He's so underhanded at what he does. Straight from the first scene, you know he knows what's going on. And wonderfully played by Maurice Evans. What a brilliant actor that he was. Anybody else got anything to put in?
I thought Dr. Zaius was a moron.
Well, you would, Brian.
Well, again, I mean, remember too that this is science fiction, and they're showing a society now. The apes are in charge, not the humans. The apes are. So, of course, think about it. If you're in charge of a society and you bump into, and history has shown this, if you bump into people that go, "Oh, the laws are wrong, the methods are wrong, the society is wrong," how many people are going to go, "Okay, you're right, we'll just change"?
But it does. It holds a fantastic mirror up to the society. Even where you've got the human hunt at the end of it, and you've got like the bodies thrown everywhere, and then you have the gorillas with their feet up taking pictures of them with their proof of kills and everything like that. It does. It just gives you this. It does. It holds a brilliant mirror up to society at the time, and that's why this movie, I think, is so absolutely magic. Very few movies can make such elegant social commentary without ramming it down your face. There's so many layers, but you just have to be there to peel them back and learn for yourself.
Right. When they show all the racks and stuff, I said, now what if people were hunting deer or fish? That's the exact same thing they would be doing. It's taking pictures and telling stories and all that. It's a great movie. It shows the society. It shows the caste system. Dr. Zaius knows that Taylor's right. He even admits it, but he doesn't admit it the whole way. And then he says to Taylor, and Taylor says, "Don't trust anybody over 30." And I was like, wait a minute. Isn't that the 60s talking? Wait a minute. So
you got to be subversive. Question your leadership. But and to be honest with you, now there was marches in London, there was marches in America. Without science there is no knowledge. Without knowledge there is no advancement. Yes, you should question authority, but also you must listen to people who want to learn things. Learning things is not a bad thing.
But or else you can tune on and drop out, right?
Exactly. If nobody else has got anything to add to that, we can go to final say, and we'll go for the scoring. Is that okay with you lot? Okie dokie. So I will move on to the final say, and we will go with Beef Dad first.
a piece of cinema magic is the only way to. It gets a 9.5.
Why is the half taken off? Yeah, I'm a bit nosy here. Why is it 9.5? Why is there half a point taken off? I'd just like to.
There were points where I think they could have done the setting in the cave a little bit better and made that a little bit more Earth-like.
Yeah.
In one of the later on ones, they go down into a cave and they're in the underground system. But yeah, it lost just a little bit for me from that, because if that doll had survived and could still say "Mama" after all that time, then the interior of that cave I would expect to be in more of an original condition. That's my only criticism.
Good answer. And don't worry, your cast members. I'm not going to query every score you put. I just like to put Beef down on the spot. Kevin, what's your score on this and final say?
Well, I enjoyed it overall, so I don't give it 9.5 out of 10. Really liked it.
Another 9.5. Alex and Susan, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm still, I'd say I'd give it a 9.5. There's a few minor scenes that I didn't like, but I mean, again, it's done very well. It is a piece of cinema magic. I've seen it, many, many times. So it doesn't change the fact that it's a great movie.
Yep. I think it's a great movie too, and I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Just wonderful.
Jason?
Well, a lot better than the 2000s one with no ape sex that they had on that one. Well, but since this is the first time I've seen the 1960s version, well, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10.
My God. Brian, what's your say on your score?
I say on Planet of the Apes would have to rate this movie about maybe 9 apes.
9 apes. Out. All right. I thought you was going to go down the banana route, but we'll move on to Beef Ed swiftly.
I will agree with my father for different reasons. I think his point is very valid with the cave at the end. I will say 9.5 out of 10, purely because I love this movie. I do. It holds a very, very dear and very special place in my heart. I really like the third movie, and I especially love the fourth movie because the rise of Caesar and that for me is the best out of the bunch, and that is a 10 because that movie is just amazingly impactful. But this has got to be a 9.5 out of 10. It's go on about it for hours. I do. It is. Well, like you said, Lee. Do you know what I mean? I think I when I first watched this, I was a very young lad, and that image of the Statue of Liberty, sticking out of the sand on the beachfront, it is an iconic image. I think it is seared into the memory of pop culture and everyone and everything like that. And for those of you who love geography, based on where they are and the travelling time and everything like that, basically, the events of this movie all took place in New Jersey. So, remember, after the bomb falls, the cast of Jersey Shore evolved into apes.
Right, that's a thought. God. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I'm right or wrong on this, but if I'm not mistaken, the Statue of Liberty was not the first choice to be the reveal at the end. It was supposed to be something else, but I can't remember what it was. But
I think there are two alternate endings, neither of which I haven't got a chance to see. I think they may have been lost to the ages. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But there are three alternative endings, I believe.
Yeah, and they did want to use another statue, but the I can't remember what it was right now.
But the choice right one is what Statue of Liberty is so iconic, isn't it? I mean, but for me, yes,
it was an orange statue.
What's that?
It was a what?
It was an orange statue.
Yes. Anyways,
what an orange?
It
rhyme with orange because nothing rhymes with orange apart from orange.
No, the
exactly.
statue was orange coloured. I think it must be the current US president.
Ooh.
Oh my God! No! We're not going down that route.
A little bit of politics in life, Dad.
For me, any chance I can get to sit down and watch this, I will. It's a classic movie, enjoyable from beginning to end. And I only great with this is it does take a while, as I said before, 30 minutes to 40 minutes before any of the apes appear. So for just that reason, I mean, when they do appear with a bang on the horses and chasing all the humans. It gets a 9.5 from me. So with all that done and dusted, I would like to thank everybody involved here today, because without you guys, we wouldn't do this, would we? So we'll just sit at home, eat pizza, drink lager, and get fat.
Stop the Planet of the Apes, I want to get off.
Yes. So please leave your comments below. Yeah, we do read them, and when we get chance, we do reply to them. Even the nasty ones. Well, it's usually against Jason, but we're consoling him at the moment.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Yes, dislike us if you like. Like us. We're on Tumblr, we're on Twitter. So we will see you next time.
But we're not on Tinder, okay? We're not on Tinder.
Well, I've just totally lost track now. Let's just thank you a lot for thanks for going on ape today, you guys. Thanks for going ape.
No problem.